Ah, Kim is here. Amazing.
Rob,
Buddy.
my man, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, when I swing, I put that fire to your chest. Talking ass, better wear a fucking vest.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was trying to ask. Like I asked an atheist, like dialogically through my Twitter page earlier or yesterday, I guess, because it's past midnight
Yeah.
now. But he said this is his, I'm just going to paraphrase them, but but I'm keeping the spirit of what he said. Okay.
Yeah.
So he said, to paraphrase, it's brainwashing to teach kids one thing to the exclusion of all others. And I said, okay, so I said, by your own standards, it would be brainwashing to teach kids macroevolution, naturalism, or any other kind of that aligns with those things to the exclusion of all others. And I just keep pressing him, and he just basically ran himself into a.
That's a really interesting point. So let me tackle that.
Sure, go ahead.
Sort of step by step, right?
No, go ahead.
I find it really interesting when creationists, right, or when religious folk talk about sort of how we're teaching atheism, or we're teaching naturalism, or we're teaching evolution as at the exclusion of other things, right? The naturalism. Hold on, because naturalism is not. It's not an ideology. Like it's not a.
I would agree. That's not an ideology.
It's not like it's not a thing, right? So when I talk about people who are atheists, right? I mentioned it in the original video that I did about you, where I said it's an unaligned position, right? So it's not that I reject your God, it's that I've not currently taken any positions on the matter. The default position is the atheist position, ideally, right? I understand that there are anti-theists who say there are no gods as a positive claim, right?
Yeah, but anti-theism is religious.
Anti-theism usually comes in the form in the flavor of scientism, which is the one thing I will give creationists the point on. Scientism is a real phenomenon that happens with a certain kind of middle-educated individual.
And what do you mean by middle-educated?
It's hard to explain. I saw it a lot when I was living in Southern California, right? So,
but if you say things, then I have every right to question it.
Yeah. So the problem lies in what. And maybe this is different in Canada. I don't know what kind of school system you went to as a kid, right? But when they teach us this stuff in school, they're not telling us what to think, right?
Oh, right.
So like my science classes were all conducted via experiments, right? So they said, we're going to try to observe this phenomenon, right? This is the procedure for how we observe this phenomenon. Take measurements as you observe it, and demonstrate this process. And so they walk us through the steps. You know, one day it was measuring amplitude of waves across a surface of water, right? And taking those measurements, we were able to see the physical phenomenon in motion, right, in action.
Okay.
And so it's not that we're being told what to think about the world. We're seeing how the world works through experimentation, through observing it, right? So when we present a classroom full of children with a fossil, right? We bring in like a dinosaur bone. You know, let's say it's a femur off of a T-Rex or whatever, right? And we bring it in and we show kids, this is where we found it, right? Here is how we were able to predict where we would find it, given the way that the continents have shifted over the last couple million years, right? So since the extinction of the dinosaurs. Right.
Sure.
So these are Pangea's coastlines as we estimate them roughly to be, right? And so we did some calculations to see the tectonic plates drifting and what other coastlines these bones would end up in, right? And so we went to those locations and we found this bone. And so we radiometrically dated it, and it's 300 million years old. And these aren't exact figures. This is for the sake of example. We are not telling kids what to think. We're showing children how we go through the process of interpreting the things that we find and the information that we use to predict where to find those things.
Okay.
Right? We're showing them the scientific method. We're showing them the systems that we can use in science to accurately explain and predict natural phenomena. And that's the biggest, like the big key, right? We're not telling them what to think. We're just showing them the facts. We're showing them how to derive this information.
I hear you.
When creationists frame naturalism as this like explicitly like discrete worldview,
I know.
requires
I was just lumping it in.
That's not how it works. So we're not teaching evolution to the exclusion of other ideas. We're showing what the evidence has shown us. We're taking you down the road of the evidence, the paper trail, right? Go ahead.
Would your school were they okay with kids who were religious or express religious idea, and as kids or just ask questions about it? That ever happened? Or
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, in health class, we had before we were able to take the health class, second semester of junior year, we had to been given a waiver. It was a piece of paper that if you took home and you got your parents to sign it, they could claim a religious exemption and they wouldn't have to go to health class, right? So it was totally. It happened a couple of times. There were we had some. There was a Jehovah's Witness classmate who excluded themselves from that, and they had to sit out from like movie days as well because they're not allowed to watch certain kinds of media. Yeah. Why would I don't understand on the face of it why people would need a religious exemption from health and fitness. Like there's nothing. Because health class in American high schools, at least in the public school system in California, is mostly sex ed, and that's a very touchy subject with fundamentalist Christians in the United States.
Okay, well, I mean, the Bible talks about sex quite explicitly, so that's
well. I mean, I'm not arguing for or against it, right? I'm just telling you this is a normal phenomenon. Okay. People with like deeply held religious convictions are allowed to exempt, their children from certain kinds of instruction, right? But the basic stuff like earth sciences, math.
What about just basic biological reproduction? Like they would want exception from that stuff, even.
Yeah, kind of. So again, it's a touchy subject. So some
religious. I think that kind of stuff makes me feel like Christians are giving me a bad name.
Well, I mean, it's a carryover of the Southern Baptist tradition.
I guess
some other fundamentalist communities, it's seen as a private family matter. So,
I think what to the extreme, like religion gone too far, has made people feel ashamed about sex. And I think that's not healthy.
Politely, respectfully, this is the pot calling the kettle black, but I will leave it at there. A young earth creationist pointing at a different kind of Christian and calling them an extremist is a little.
No, I'm not calling them an extremist. I'm calling that particular kind of thinking
extreme. An
extreme
interpretation of the
I'm only talking about one issue, not every issue.
Sure. So, religious views aren't discriminated. We have a which is something that you guys don't have, right? We have the freedom of religion enshrined in our Constitution, and we
do have it enshrined in our Constitution too. It's just that our culture has shifted so drastically that
Quebec has entered the chat. Quebec has entered the chat. No, I'm joking. I'm messing with you. Quebec would beg to differ, but
okay, no. Hear me out. In Canada, we in our Constitution we have it's on pretty much well at the top: freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and there's another freedom I can't remember.
But all of these do have a public order exemption, I believe, as part.
There's truth to that. So, but anyways,
limits, and so in the United States, the limits are far looser. Yeah.
So where I was going with that is our culture has degenerated so far that it may as well be written on a piece of paper in a trash can somewhere.
Fair enough.
So laws are only as good as they're enforced. I'll just leave it at that.
Very true, and very based of you to say that. But yeah, so like, what is the specific concern that you have with, let's say, earth science education in schools? Because talking about the fossil record, for instance, would be a part of an earth science. Showing the geologic column would be a part of an earth sciences course, right? And I know you have like fundamental problems with those two concepts.
Yeah, well, I mean, what my thing is, like, let's have kids have like, we even have the option. You can sign up for young earth creation, you can sign up for macroevolution, or you can sign up for both.
Okay, well, but the purpose of a public education is to deliver the facts, right? So when we can take a photo, because there are places on Earth, right, where you can photograph the entire geologic column, right, or large sections of it.
Where?
I know that they exist. Hold on, let me. Geologic column. Location. Geologic location. All right. Yeah, like in the Grand Canyon, you can see major parts of the geologic column, strata going back several layers, and so you see the kind of life that you find in there. Oh, this is from a textbook. Hold on. No. That's hold on. I can see if I can pull up a photo.
I got an hour and 40 minutes left. We're good, Kim.
Awesome.
Because like the last time I went in here, it just drained my battery power.
Yeah. Anyway, so like we have taken samples, and there are places on Earth where you can see several of the different strata, and you can track, the age of certain rocks back any number of millions of years, right? This is established geology. As a matter of fact, we have such a good understanding of the geologic column that we can run the fossil fuel industry, because the fossil fuel industry requires accurate geology to function, right? Because these oil deposits are so deep in the earth that you end up breaking apart million-year-old rocks. Right, it's just a normal part of the industry work. So when we deliver these facts to kids, like when we show the children how we radiometrically date a bone, for instance, what is your specific? What would you change about that? Because we have to teach them the facts, right?
Well, no, I don't dispute that. I gotta bring this up to my pastor when I see him later this morning. Is that he mentioned to me? Are you familiar at all with McMaster University in Hamilton? Just like that's the name.
McMaster University.